I'd been planning my proposal for almost a year. Every detail had to be perfect because Sarah deserved nothing less. She'd been my girlfriend for 5 years, the kind of woman who never asked for much but gave her all. I wanted to make that moment unforgettable, so I decided to propose during a weekend trip with our family and close friends at a lake house upstate. The place had this dreamy wooden pier that stretched out over the water, perfect for sunset photos. My cousin Jake volunteered to film the proposal since he fancied himself a videography enthusiast. I trusted him completely. We'd grown up together, and he'd always been like a brother to me. Or so I thought. In the weeks leading up to the trip, I spent hours planning everything, coordinating with the restaurant, picking the ring, and arranging the surprise with my parents and hers. Everyone was in on it, except Sarah, of course. I even made sure her favorite song would play from a Bluetooth speaker hidden near the pier. But if I'd known what Jake had planned, I would have left him out of everything. The day finally came. It was beautiful golden sunlight, calm water, and Sarah in this white summer dress that made her look ethereal. Jake was setting up the camera, claiming he wanted to get cinematic angles. I thought it was just him being extra, but he seemed unusually jittery. When I asked if everything was okay, he brushed it off with a grin. The moment started perfectly. Sarah and I walked hand in hand down the pier, her eyes lighting up as she realized what was happening. My heart pounded as I got down on one knee and said the words I'd rehearsed 1,000 times. She covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face, whispering yes before I even finished. Everyone cheered. It should have been one of the happiest days of my life. But later, when we watched the proposal video Jake had recorded, my stomach dropped. The first few seconds were fine. Sarah's shocked expression, me kneeling, the background. Cheers, but halfway through, the camera suddenly panned toward the shore where my cousin's girlfriend, Tessa, stood watching. The focus zoomed in on her face, and then on the guy standing next to her. The man was holding her waist intimately, leaning in to kiss her neck. It wasn't Jake. The entire video captured Tessa's betrayal in high definition. My family went silent as the realization hit. Jake had noticed her cheating while filming my proposal, and instead of stopping or hiding it, he kept recording, even zooming in like he was filming a reality show. I didn't know what to think. He'd ruined the most precious video I could have had, turning it into proof of his girlfriend's infidelity. When I confronted him that night, he shrugged it off like it wasn't a big deal, saying, "At least you got 2 surprises in one video." I wanted to punch him. Not just because the video was ruined, but because of how casual he was about it. Sarah tried to calm me down, saying maybe he was just hurt. But I knew Jake, he wasn't just hurt, he was vengeful. Still, I decided to let it go. After all, I was engaged to the woman I loved, and that was what mattered. But Jake wasn't done. Over the next few days, he started making sarcastic comments whenever anyone brought up the proposal. He'd say things like, "Hey, at least I caught something real on camera," or that video's more dramatic than any rom-com. His bitterness was clear, but I didn't expect it to spill over into my life the way it soon would. The following week, he posted the entire video on social media without my permission. It got thousands of views within hours. He titled it "Proposal Gone Wrong. You Won't Believe What Happened Next." Everyone saw it, friends, coworkers, even people from Sarah's family. My proposal became a meme. I was furious. Sarah was heartbroken. Jake didn't answer my calls for days. When he finally did, he said, "Relax, dude. I blurred your faces. No one knows it's you, but people did." My voice, my clothes, Sarah's laugh, everyone knew. He humiliated us. That was when I decided I wasn't going to let him walk away unscathed. I'd learned from experience that Jake had a habit of pushing people's buttons, but this time, he'd gone too far. He wanted views and attention, and now he was about to get it, but not in the way he wanted. Because I knew something he didn't. While he was filming everyone else's lives, he'd left a trail of secrets of his own. And I had proof. The first time I suspected Jake was cheating on Tessa was months before the proposal trip. He was always cagey about his phone, never leaving it unattended, and there were times he'd disappear for late-night editing sessions. I never said anything because, honestly, it wasn't my business. But after he uploaded my proposal video and humiliated us, I decided I was done being the quiet cousin who let things slide. If Jake wanted drama, I'd give him a show worth remembering. I started digging carefully. Jake wasn't exactly subtle online. He liked attention, and that ego of his was his biggest weakness. His Instagram was public, and he often tagged random girls in his photography projects. I messaged one of them, pretending to be a potential client. She responded quickly, saying Jake had done a couple shoot for her and her friend, except when I asked for details, she said it wasn't a photo shoot at all. Apparently, Jake had been seeing her for weeks while still living with Tessa. That was the first piece of the puzzle. The second came from his own camera. When I confronted him after he uploaded the proposal video, he'd left his bag at my place. Inside was his SD card case. I didn't touch it right away, but curiosity won. When I plugged one into my laptop, I realized Jake had been filming everything, not just our family events, but his own escapades. He had videos of himself with different girls, sometimes multiple in 1 week. I didn't want to see it, but I had to confirm what I already suspected. There were timestamps, locations, even clips of him bragging to his friends about how Tessa would never know. It was disgusting. And the irony, the same guy who ruined my proposal video for views was cheating behind the back of the woman who stood crying at the end of that video. I thought about telling Tessa right away, but I wanted it done publicly, just like how he'd publicly embarrassed me. I needed it to hit him where it hurt, his pride. So, I came up with a plan. Sarah was hesitant at first. She didn't want to drag things out, but when she saw how Jake refused to take down the proposal video even after we asked nicely, she changed her mind. If he wants to make a spectacle out of everything, then fine, she said. Let's give him one. So, the next week, when our extended family got together for my parents' anniversary, I decided that would be the perfect time. Everyone would be there: Jake, Tessa, my parents, his parents, all our cousins. I brought my laptop, pretending I'd made a slideshow of family memories for the event. When Jake arrived, he was smirking, acting like nothing had happened. He even had the nerve to bring his camera, joking that maybe he'd film another viral moment. I smiled back, pretending I'd forgiven him. The evening started normal enough. We ate, laughed, and when dessert was done, my mom asked me to play the video montage I'd made. Jake even volunteered to hook it up to the big TV in the living room. Perfect. The first few minutes were innocent family photos, vacation clips, birthdays. Everyone was smiling. Then, the screen glitched on purpose. The next clip started playing, and it was Jake's voice, bragging about how he'd never get caught and that Tessa believes anything I tell her. The room fell silent. Jake's face froze as the next part rolled, a series of short clips he'd recorded with other women, all dated within the last 2 months. Gasps filled the room. His mom covered her mouth. Tessa turned pale. Jake jumped up, shouting, "What the hell is this?" But I didn't stop it. The video played until the last clip, him laughing, saying, "Man, I could make a whole movie out of my double life." When the screen went black, I stood up and said calmly, "Well, Jake, I guess now we're both viral." He lunged toward me, furious, but his dad held him back. Tessa was crying, demanding answers. He tried denying it, claiming it was edited, but the timestamps and audio made it impossible. The whole family saw through his lies. He stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard it shook the walls. I won't lie, it felt good, maybe too good. But after everything he'd done, after the humiliation and disrespect, it felt like justice. Tessa later came up to me, still trembling, and thanked me for telling her the truth, even if it hurt. I told her she deserved better. That night, Jake started texting me nonstop angry messages, threats, saying I'd ruined his reputation. I ignored them at first, but when he posted a cryptic story saying, "People can edit videos, but they can't edit karma," I knew he wasn't done. I thought it was over, that he'd finally back off, but Jake wasn't the type to accept defeat quietly. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. My phone was blowing up with messages from friends, coworkers, even Sarah's family. Somehow, Jake had found a way to twist everything, and this time, his revenge made mine look tame. The first thing I saw when I opened my phone that morning was a flood of notifications from social media. My heart sank when I realized Jake had uploaded something new, a 20-minute tell-all video titled "My Cousin's Fake Proposal and How He Tried to Frame Me." The thumbnail was a freeze frame of me on one knee during my proposal, and the caption underneath read, "You think you know the truth? Think again." My stomach dropped. He'd taken the footage from my proposal, the same one he ruined, and edited it into a twisted narrative. In his version, I wasn't a loving fiancé. I was a manipulative liar. He claimed I had staged the entire proposal for clout, that Sarah and I weren't even really engaged, and that I'd hacked his camera to plant fake videos to destroy his relationship with Tessa. The worst part, he had edited the footage so convincingly that people who didn't know the real story might actually believe it. He slowed down clips, added dramatic background music, spliced together moments from different events to make it look like Sarah and I had planned everything as some elaborate social media stunt. And because Jake already had a following from his videography posts, the video went viral within hours. People were commenting things like, "Wow, can't believe people fake proposals for views, and this guy deserves the humiliation." My phone was buzzing nonstop, coworkers, friends, even Sarah's relatives asking what was going on. Sarah was furious and heartbroken. "He's lying," she kept saying, pacing our living room. "He's actually lying to thousands of people like it's a game." I was shaking with anger but knew I had to be smart. If I reacted emotionally, it would only feed the fire. So I decided to gather proof everything. The original, unedited video files were still on Jake's SD cards. I'd backed them up before exposing him to the family, anticipating that he might try something like this. I also had screenshots of our text conversations where he admitted to posting my proposal without permission, and where he laughed about how people love drama. I compiled everything meticulously, creating a folder that laid out the entire timeline: his betrayal, his cheating, his lies. Then I reached out to someone who could help, my friend Dylan, who worked in digital forensics. He analyzed Jake's tell-all video and confirmed what I already knew. The footage was heavily manipulated, with audio cuts, duplicated timestamps, and inserted clips from unrelated days. It was fabricated beyond any doubt. But before I could post anything, Jake struck again. He sent Sarah a message from an unknown number, screenshots of old private messages between her and a friend from years ago, back when we'd had a short breakup. He twisted them to make it look like she cheated on me. It was pure manipulation, and Sarah broke down crying. "He's trying to ruin us," she said through tears. "He doesn't care about truth, he just wants attention." I hugged her, promising I'd fix it. But deep down, I felt something darker, a mix of anger and resolve. I realized Jake wasn't just trying to save face, he was trying to destroy mine. That night, I stayed up editing my own video, my side of the story. Not a rant, not a revenge piece, just the truth. I showed clips from the original proposal video, unedited and timestamped. I included messages from Jake where he bragged about going viral and even laughed about how gullible people online are. Then, at the end, I inserted a clip I hadn't shown anyone before: Jake himself, sitting in my backyard a few days after the proposal, holding a beer, smirking, and saying, "Maybe I should upload it anyway." People love drama. They don't even care if it's real. I uploaded the video quietly at midnight with the title, "The Truth Behind My Proposal Video, Unedited Footage." Within a few hours, it exploded. People compared the two videos side by side, pointing out inconsistencies in Jake's editing. Comments started turning against him. Why does his version look fake? Those timecodes don't match. Why would his cousin have this footage if it wasn't real? By noon, Jake's narrative was crumbling. He tried to defend himself, posting angry stories and calling me a manipulator, but the damage was done. His followers turned on him, and even Tessa publicly commented, saying, "Everything he said is a lie." I saw the files myself, but just when I thought it was finally over, something unexpected happened. I got a call from Jake's dad. His voice was strained, heavy. "You need to stop this," he said. "Jake's in trouble. Serious trouble." I froze. "What do you mean?" I asked, but he hesitated before answering. "He's not okay. He's been drinking, locking himself in his apartment. He says everyone's turned against him. He blames you for everything." I didn't know how to respond. For a second, the anger I'd been carrying for weeks was replaced by guilt. I hadn't wanted this to spiral into something dangerous. But at the same time, I couldn't forget the things Jake had done: the humiliation, the manipulation, the cruelty. Still, that night, I drove to his place. The lights were off. I knocked for several minutes before hearing a muffled voice inside. When he finally opened the door, he looked broken, red eyes and shaven, surrounded by empty bottles and a flickering TV screen playing one of his old videos on loop. He glared at me. "You happy now?" he said, voice slurred. "You destroyed me." I stood there, unsure whether to feel pity or anger. "You did this to yourself, Jake," I said quietly. "All I did was show the truth." He laughed bitterly. "Truth," he said. "There's no truth online. Just who uploads first." Then he slammed the door shut. I stood outside in the cold, realizing he wasn't wrong. The internet didn't care about facts, only stories. and ours had become one that neither of us could control anymore. But I didn't know then that Jake still had one more card to play. And this time, it wouldn't just target my reputation, it would target my future. A week passed after that night, and I tried to put the whole nightmare behind me. Sarah and I were focusing on the wedding plans again, avoiding social media, trying to move forward. People had finally stopped tagging us in the mess Jake had started. His channels went quiet. He deleted everything and vanished offline. I thought maybe he'd learned his lesson, or at least that he'd gotten tired of the drama. But I was wrong. He wasn't finished. He was just planning his next move. It started subtly. My boss called me into his office one morning looking uncomfortable. He said someone had sent an anonymous email to HR claiming I'd been harassing a female coworker, attaching screenshots as proof. I knew immediately it was fake. The messages were clearly edited, but they were convincing enough to cause a problem. My boss didn't believe them, but HR had to look into it, which meant awkward meetings and whispered rumors. I felt sick. Then Sarah got a message from her parents asking if everything was okay between us. Apparently, someone had sent them an email, too, claiming I had a violent temper and that Sarah was afraid to speak up. It was disgusting, calculated, and cruel. I didn't even need to guess who was behind it. Jake's style was all over it. When I tried calling him, his number was disconnected. I went to his apartment, but he was gone, moved out, no forwarding address. Even his friends didn't know where he went. It was like he'd disappeared off the grid, leaving only chaos behind. For a while, I thought that was the end of it, until one night I got home and found an envelope taped to my front door. No name, no return address, just a USB drive inside. Sarah didn't want me to open it, but I had to. The moment I plugged it in, a folder popped up labeled insurance. Inside were dozens of videos, clips Jake had secretly recorded over the past few months. Some were from family events, others from random nights when we'd all hung out. But a few were from inside my own house. My blood ran cold. The files showed Jake had hidden small cameras during the proposal weekend and even during later visits. He'd recorded private conversations, moments between Sarah and me, things that no one had the right to see. And one file stood out, a recording from the night I went to his apartment, the night I tried to talk to him. In it, the audio was cut to make it sound like I'd threatened him. The file name was backup for safety.mp4. Double quotes. That's when I realized he'd prepared for this months in advance. He knew things might go south, so he'd built a library of insurance videos to twist reality if he ever needed to. My hands were shaking. Sarah was crying quietly beside me. We decided to take it to the police. They said it might qualify as harassment or illegal recording, but because some of the footage was filmed in shared or public spaces, the case would be complicated. Still, they advised me to save everything as evidence. For a few days, we lived on edge, not knowing if Jake was still watching us somehow. Then, one morning, I got another message, but this time, it wasn't from him. It was from a woman I didn't recognize. She introduced herself as Melissa, a woman Jake had dated briefly before Tessa. She said she'd seen my videos online and wanted to warn me Jake had been contacting people behind the scenes, trying to get dirt on me. He told them I'd ruined his life, that I was a narcissist who destroyed people for attention. But what she told me next chilled me. She said Jake had been using fake accounts to spread rumors about me in online forums, even on professional review sites, pretending to be former coworkers and clients, posting lies about how I stole money and harassed women. He'd built a whole network of fake personas, all pointing back to me as the villain. And he was planning something big, according to Melissa. He bragged about having one final master video that would flip the narrative completely. She didn't know what it was, but he told her it would end everything. That night, I barely slept. I kept checking my phone, waiting for whatever he was about to drop. Days passed, nothing happened, and for a brief moment, I hoped maybe it had been an empty threat. But then, one morning, Sarah woke me up shaking. "It's online," she whispered. I rushed to her laptop. Jake had uploaded another video, but this time it wasn't on his old channel, it was on a brand new one with no subscribers, titled Final Truth. Watch before it's taken down. The thumbnail was my face. My heart pounded as I pressed play. The video opened with grainy footage of me from the night at Jake's apartment, heavily edited. His voice narrated over it, calm and measured, pretending to be reasonable. He said, "This is the part no one saw. The night my cousin came to threaten me. The night I realized he'd stop at nothing to ruin me." Then the footage cut to the audio he'd faked, splicing my words so it sounded like I'd said things I never did. He added dramatic music, slow zooms, even fake subtitles to make it seem more believable. At the end, he showed clips of Sarah crying during the earlier family confrontation, claiming she was terrified of me. The manipulation was horrifyingly convincing. My chest tightened. I could feel my reputation slipping again, this time faster than before. Within hours, the video had been reposted everywhere. People love a redemption arc, and Jake had spun one perfectly. Him, the broken cousin trying to rebuild his life, me, the controlling villain who couldn't handle being exposed, but this time, I was done being passive. I contacted Dylan again. Together, we dissected every frame, every second of audio. Using metadata, he proved the video had been tampered with, the timecodes didn't match, the sound bites were cut from different conversations, and even Jake's voiceover had been recorded weeks later. I uploaded everything, raw evidence, and this time, I didn't hold back. I showed the cameras he'd hidden, the fake emails he'd sent, the messages from Melissa. The internet exploded again, but this time, against Jake. People weren't sympathetic anymore. They saw through him. They started calling him the manipulator cousin. Commenters dug into his past, finding inconsistencies, old lies, people he'd wronged before. His fake profiles got exposed. He couldn't hide anymore. Within days, his name was trending, but for all the wrong reasons. And then, suddenly, he disappeared again. His accounts deleted, his phone disconnected. The police finally reached out. They'd found enough evidence from my report to open an official investigation into harassment and illegal surveillance. I thought it was finally over. But the last thing I expected was what arrived 2 weeks later in the mail. A small box with no return label. Inside, a single flash drive. On it, just one file, named Goodbye. For a long time, I just stared at that flash drive sitting on the kitchen table. It felt like holding a piece of poison, one last trap Jake had planted to drag me back into his chaos. Sarah begged me not to open it. He's done enough, she said. What if it's another fake video? Or worse. But something inside me needed closure. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about finally understanding why Jake had done all of this, why he turned my happiest day into a battlefield. So, I plugged it in. There was only one video file, less than 3 minutes long. The screen flickered to life, showing Jake sitting in what looked like a motel room. The curtains were drawn, the lighting dim. He looked exhausted, eyes hollow, beard unkempt, like someone who hadn't slept in days. For the first time in months, he didn't look angry. He looked empty. He started speaking quietly, almost whispering. "If you're watching this, it means you finally won," he said, his voice shaking. "Congratulations. You got what you wanted." He laughed, but it sounded broken. "You know, I didn't start this because I hated you. I started it because I couldn't stand how everyone loved you. You were always the good one, the one who did things right, who everyone trusted. I wanted that. I wanted to be the one people admired. But every time I tried, I just messed up worse. When I saw you proposing to Sarah, something inside me snapped. You looked happy, really happy, and I couldn't stand it. I wanted to ruin it because I didn't know how to have something that pure myself." He paused, running his hands through his hair. And then it got out of control. The lies, the videos, the stories. I kept going because I couldn't stop. It was like I was addicted to it, the attention, the chaos, the feeling that I mattered. But I don't anymore. Not after everything I've done. He looked straight at the camera then, eyes glassy. "You'll probably hate me forever, and you should. I destroyed your proposal, your peace, your trust. But I never meant to destroy myself with it too. Tell Sarah I'm sorry. And tell Mom and Dad. I just wanted to be noticed." The video ended abruptly, no fade out, no music, just black. My chest felt tight as I sat there, unable to move. Sarah was silent, holding my hand. There was no satisfaction, no victory. Just this heavy sadness that settled over everything. The next day, I called his parents. They hadn't heard from him either, and when I told them about the video, they broke down. A week later, they found him. He wasn't dead, thankfully, but close. He'd been found in a hospital 2 states away, heavily intoxicated, barely coherent. The doctors said he'd likely been living out of motels for weeks. His parents brought him home, and he agreed to go into rehab. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something like a second chance. Months passed. Sarah and I got married quietly, just the two of us and our closest friends. No cameras, no big gestures, just peace. I didn't post anything online. I didn't even keep my old accounts. I realized I didn't need the world's validation. The proposal video, the one Jake had ruined, was still on an old hard drive, but I never opened it again. Sometimes, I thought about deleting it. But I didn't. It wasn't just a record of the worst day, it was proof of how easily joy can be twisted when pride and envy get involved. About 6 months later, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. It was from Jake. His writing was shaky, but he was sober. He said he was getting help, working on himself, and that he didn't expect forgiveness. He just wanted to thank me for not giving up on telling the truth. "You showed me what real accountability looks like," he wrote. "I thought the internet could make me somebody, but it only made me a ghost. You taught me that honesty hurts, but it's the only thing that lasts." I read the letter 3 times before folding it back up and putting it in a drawer. That night, Sarah and I sat on the porch, watching the sunset. It looked almost identical to the one from that day at the lake, the day everything changed. For the first time since then, I didn't feel anger, just a strange, quiet gratitude that it was finally over. I realized that revenge hadn't healed anything. Truth had. Painfully, slowly, but completely. A few weeks later, I uploaded one final video, not a story, not evidence, just a short clip of the lake with the caption, "Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's letting go of what controls you." I turned off the comments. It got barely any views, but that didn't matter. For the first time in years, I didn't care about the numbers. I just cared that it was done, that I could breathe again, that maybe, somehow, Jake could too.